بسم الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخزى لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحتك الإسام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النكام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لكل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفئ بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلحمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بك اسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لكبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي الكبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فادح من البلاء أكلت وكم من إيثار وكيت وكم من مكروه دفعت وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرت. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرط بي سوء حالي، وكسرت بي أعمالي، وقضت بي أغلالي، وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أعمالي، وخدتني الدنيا بغرورها، ونفسي بجنايتها، ومثالي يا سيدي، فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تؤاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي، ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي، وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك، أسأله كشف ذري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي، أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أهوى، وأسأله على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك، وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك، وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستكيلا، مستغفرا منيبا، مقرا مذعنا مؤترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا ملجأ أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري، وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري، وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وساقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني، يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني، يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني، ورقة جلدي ودقة عزمي، يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وصالح برك بي، يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، وأتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق ترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات، أنت أكرم من أن تزيع من ربيتا، أو تبعد من أدنيتا، أو تشرد من آويتا، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمتا. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا، وبشكرك مادحا، وعلى قلوب طرفت إلهيتك محققا، وألا زمار أحوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وألا جوارح سأت إلى أوطان تأبدك طائعة، وشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك أنت يا كريم يا رب، يا كريم يا رب، يا كريم يا رب. وأنت تعلم ضعفي قليلا من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، ألا أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكسور، يسير بقاؤه، كثير مدته. وكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك ضعيف ذليل الحكير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها أزج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته، لئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك، وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك. أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك، فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني نعتك لازجن إليك بين أهلها زجيج العاملين، ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال عارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يزج إليك زجيج مؤمل رحمته، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيده، وتوسلوا إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي. فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا؟ أم كيف يتكلكل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا أم كيف تجله زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتكه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين أقطع لما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وكزيت به من إخلاد معانديك أجلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مكرا ولا مقاما لكنك تكدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا ما يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالكزية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل كبيح أسررته وكل جهل أملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإسقاطها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي وكنت أنت ركيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك ركي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك مأمورة وبخدمتك موصولة وأعمالي عندك مقبولة حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من عليه مؤولي يا من إليه شكوت أهوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قو على خدمتك جوارحي واجدد على الأزيمة جوانحي وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في اتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في البارزين واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وخافك مخافة الموقنين واجتمعا في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده ومن كادني فكده واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نسيبا عندك واقربهم منزلة منك وخسهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجدني بجودك وأعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لحجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وكلني أسرتي واغفر زلتي فإنك كزيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وزمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تأتأ من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وصلاحه البقاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النكام يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يؤلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I think everyone's ready.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الخطبة 23. أما بعد، فإن الأمر ينزل من السماء إلى الأرض كقطرات المطر إلى كل نفس بما قسم لها من زيادة أو نقصان. Sermon number 23 of Nahjul Balagha speaks about the Imam encouraging the fuqara, it says up here at the top, encouraging them to have zuhd. Sometimes you are a faqir, you are poor, you are needy, and yet you still have attachment to this life. It's interesting. This the way that the Imam or the title has been worded here, تشتمل على تهذيب الفقراء بالزهد. How the Imam is encouraging the fuqara to have zuhd. Sometimes you don't have anything, and yet you still have attachment to dunya. Meaning, if they let you go, if you could have a lot, you would have a lot. And so now that you don't have enough, don't have a lot, it's burning you on the inside. The Imam in this khutbah is encouraging them to have zuhd. Zuhd means to be detached, to not be so reliant on dunya and wealth. Yes, we'll talk about a little bit later about how everyone needs to have a share of dunya. That's something that even the Quran mentions in the story of Qarun. It is one thing to have a need of dunya, to have need of wealth, so that things you can make ends meet. But it's another thing to have attachment, and this is something that everyone has already heard time and time again. So it's interesting how the fuqara, it's not that if you're faqir, if you're poor, then you're automatically a zahid. No, you can still be faqir, but be the opposite of a zahid. And so the Imam in this khutbah, he is encouraging the fuqara to have zuhd as well. We'll get to some of those details. This khutbah has about 3 parts. I would say you can divide it into 3 parts. Tonight, we're going to go through one of those parts, the majority of it, which is the first part, inshallah. In this khutbah, the Imam, he points out the fact that, look, us as people, us as Allah's creation, and Allah as our sustainer, there's something going on when it comes to our sustenance. Our sustenance, lots of times, the amount of sustenance we have will depend on the potential that we've had and how much we've actualized that potential. People come with different potentials, with different talents and skills, different abilities to learn, and so on and so forth. As a result of this, people's sustenance will be different as well. The Imam begins his khutbah speaking about this, touching on this. Now, those people who might have less of a potential, less of an ability to be able to collect, to be able to accumulate sustenance and wealth in this life, those people who have less of a potential, if they at least understand that this is a divine decree by God, that not everyone will be at the same level, then they won't feel like this is my objective in life, to reach a certain point of wealth and financial stability. Yes, we all have to try our best to make a living, and these are the basics of Islam. And to the extent that it is so encouraged in Islam, and it is so wajib in Islam to try to make a halal living, that a person who loses their life in such a way is as if they lost their life struggling in the battlefield for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of this is there. And so what we're going to be talking about in this session is not going to go against any of those teachings. As a matter of fact, if I have enough time, towards the end of the talk, we'll have a very nice hadith in regards to this submission and all of that, and an explanation of how we have no choice but to go after halal living and all that. But at the end of the day, when the Imam lets us know that, look, everyone has their own calling in this world. Everyone, let's say, now today they say you've been created for a purpose in life. Everyone has a purpose in life. Now, there will be some, I would say, that this line can be misinterpreted and have the wrong meaning. But I would say it seems that the right way of interpreting such a line, that we've all have a purpose in life, is that we all have a certain potential that we can actualize in this life. If a person who is not doing as good as others understands that maybe it has to do with their potential, and that this doesn't mean that they also, there's an expectation of them to try to reach the quote unquote success, the dunyawi success of others who are super quote unquote successful. Yeah, a person who knows that this is the case, then they won't push and do everything and sacrifice everything to reach that point of quote unquote success. Okay, and so the Imam begins with this idea. He says that أما بعد فإن الأمر ينزل من السماء إلى الأرض كقطرات المطر. That the Amr descends from the heaven, from the heavens, from the sky to the earth, the same way rain falls onto the earth from the clouds. Okay, so he's making a comparison here. Brothers and sisters, when it comes to rain in this world, okay, the rain that we have on earth, is it always pouring down the same way in a uniform fashion across the face of the earth and the surface? No, it's not. It'll be different. In some places, it's going to rain so much that you will have floods. Other places, you barely have any rain, and it's all desert. Yes, rain comes down in different ways, and so as a result of that, not everywhere will have the same amount of water. The Imam here compares sustenance to the rain. He says the Amr does not come down. Amr means decree. It means divine order, God's order. When it comes down, in other words, when it comes to the dispersion of the sustenance of the people and distribution of sustenance amongst the people, the command of God is going to be like rain. It's not going to be uniform. Some places there will be more, some places there will be less. Now, once again, this is not something random. This is based on the potentials that each of us have and have been created with. Okay, now someone might say that's not fair. I want more potential. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. The Imam will actually talk about that. What his reasoning is for this idea of don't complain too much if someone has more potential than you do. All right, so he says that this comes down just like rain, إِلَى كُلِّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا قُسِمَ لَهَا, and reaches every individual to the amount that has been dedicated to that individual. So you see, it's all divine decree. Yes, it's all by the order of the one and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. مِنْ زِيَادَةٍ أَوْ نُقْصَانٍ. Some will have ziyada, abundance, more. Others will have nuqsan, will have less. Okay. Now this is the part where the Imam starts speaking about what our approach should be, what our perspective should be when it comes to this matter. If someone is doing better than I am, yeah, how am I going to look at them? When I get this anger in me sometimes that someone has something that I don't, yeah? Do I get jealous? Do I hold a grudge? And so on. The Imam says, فَإِذَا رَأَى أَحَدُكُمْ لِأَخِيهِ غَفِيرَةً في أهل أو مال أو نفس فلا تكونن له فتنة. That when someone sees for their brother, you see right here the Imam already with the wording that he's using, he's not saying if you ever see someone else have something. He says when you see your brother or sister has something that you don't, or not just has something that you don't, has abundance. غفيرة means kathra. When something is kathir, when something is a lot, yes, is abundant, the word ghafir is used. All right. If one of you sees for their brother an abundance when it comes to ahl, meaning spouse and children, they have more than me. Or malin, wealth, more than me. Nafsin, when it comes to the self, the body, this person, they're just in better shape than I am. I'm even going to go this far to say maybe this person's better looking than I am. Yeah? whatever it is that has to do with anything that is considered an asset, that is considered something good, that is considered something that has value, the Imam says, فَلَا تَكُونَنَّ لَهُ fitnatan. This ghafira, this abundance, yes, this the fact that a person has more of something than me I should not allow that to be a fitna for me. Fitna usually refers to is used to refer to, a test, but sometimes it is used for a problem. Yeah, and so here fitna, the Imam is saying, don't let this be a fitna for you. He doesn't mean don't let it be a test for you, because this is a test. Don't let it be a fitna for you means don't let this be a means of your downfall. Don't let this cause problems for you. Don't let this be a fitna for you. Don't allow this to fool you and to do something or to think something that is to your detriment. Yes? فَإِنَّ الْمَرْءَ الْمُسْلِمِ مَا لَمْ يَغْشَ دَنَاءَةً تَظْهَرُ فَيَخْشَعُ لَهَا إِذَا ذُكِرَتْ وَيُغْرَى بِهَا لِئَامُ النَّاسِ كَانَ كَالْفَالِجِ الْيَاسِرِ. He says, look, let me give you another example. When this happens, and you do what you're supposed to do, yes? When a Muslim doesn't do something bad that when is ashamed of others remembering it or bringing it up, and when a Muslim doesn't do something that when it is brought up or people know about it, it is something that the lowly people are emboldened by knowing it. Sometimes you do something, you're the best of your class, you're the best of the people that you live amongst. Yeah, you're the highest, you're the most noble. And then there are some who are normal, and there are some who are lowly. They're of a very low status. Okay, now sometimes a person who has a high status, others who wouldn't dare even speak bad about that person will do something themselves where even those who are the lowest of the low will be emboldened to talk bad about them, to try to bring them down. Yeah. So for example, in the story of Zulaykha, she fell in love with Yusuf. قَدْ شَغَفَهَا حُبًّا. The Quran says that the other ladies of Misr, of Egypt, who were nobodies really, they were nowhere close to her status, they started finding fault in her, calling her out and saying, oh yeah, Yusuf has really stolen her heart. Yeah, that's what they started saying about her. Why? She showed weakness herself. Yeah, she showed weakness herself, and as a result, the ones who were lower were able to call her out. Here the Imam, he says the Muslim, the individual who is a believer, this person, as long as they haven't done something wrong that they are afraid of others bringing it up, so it's embarrassing to them, or it's not something that is emboldening those who are low of the people, yes, this person, if they don't fall into that trap and mistake, they are like al-falij al-yasir. They are like the one who, al-falij means a person who has won something. In Arabic, you'll say al-najih. That's a synonym for it. They are like the winner. The winner in what? Al-yasir. In Arabic, we have this term, and in the Quran, we have a term that is from the same root. It's maysir. Maysir, when you look at the translations, they'll say gambling. Okay, I'm going to explain this, but let me translate this line first. The Imam says, look, if you don't mess up and don't do something wrong, you're like the one who is a gambler and has won. What kind of winning though? الذي ينتظر أول فوزة من قداحه توجب له المغنم ويرفع بها عنه المغرم. You are like that gambler. Once again, I'll explain what is meant here. You are like that gambler who's won. How? How has he won? Who has won through their stick being pulled out first from amongst all the sticks, which in turn makes them wealthier and brings for them wealth, and puts away from them loss. So when you win, when you're gambling, right, what happens? You put money aside, right? You put money aside. If you win, if you, I don't know, roll a certain thing on the dice or a certain number or whatever, I don't know. These are things we don't really know much about because it's usually haram. These God forbid, these tools of gambling, whatever they are out there. I'm not saying dice are gambling. Other tools of gambling. Yes, when it comes to these things, you have put money aside. If you get the number that you were trying to get, or you get a match of 3 different things, 4 different things, and then you win, yeah, what happens is you gain wealth, and you've put away from you and far from you what? Loss. Because if you had not won that game, the money that you had put and gambled will be gone. So a person, when they gamble, there's a chance that they'll lose everything what they have and be at loss, or they will gain and win and add more. The Imam here, he says, he's trying to conclude, make a little conclusion, and he's going to draw another conclusion as well when we go forward. He says, look, there are people out there who are doing better than you are. Okay? Don't let this be a fitna for you. Because if it is, you might do something, say something that is going to be problematic for you. And if you don't do such a bad thing, you are like the gambler who has won and whose stick has been chosen, and as a result has put away from him loss of money and has gained wealth. But what's going on here? What are these sticks that the Imam might be referring to? These commentators, they've explained that back in Jahiliyyah times, and maybe even after Islam, they might have been still practicing this, some people, I don't know. But in Jahiliyyah times, for sure, the people had this method of being good. When they wanted to do good deeds, this is how they would do it, it seems. What they would do is they would slaughter a camel. All right, so these are wealthy people, like 10 wealthy people get together, or maybe 7 wealthy people, I don't know how many, however many, let's say 10. They get together, and after they slaughter the camel, they divide it up into like 10 parts. What happens is now they get 10 sticks or twigs, and in each of them they write a name, and they put those twigs in there, in a bag, excuse me. And they randomly, like lottery style, take out one after another. The first one they take out, whoever's name comes up, gets a certain share of that camel. The second gets a certain share. Third, fourth, 7 to 10, number 7 to 10 though, not only do they not get a share of the camel, but they have to pay for the share of all the other people. In other words, and this was binding in the past. Of course, this today is haram, but and you can't do anything like that. But back then, this is how they would do it. Out of 10 people, 3 people would end up having to pay for the camel. The others would take their share of the camel. But they want to be righteous, right? And so they would all 10 of them, or whoever got a share of the camel meat, what they would do is they would give it in charity to people who needed it. So to do something good, they would do something bad, which is gambling. So here, I like how the Imam, based on this explanation, I like how the Imam, he's not just talking about random gambling. He just uses this as an example, but even the example that he uses is something that they would use for good ends, for charity and so on. But the point he's trying to make here is this: the one whose stick would get chosen first, brothers and sisters, they say that person was the luckiest. They would get the best share or the most share of the camel. And then the second person, then the third person, and the fourth person. Here the Imam says, if a person doesn't allow others' wealth to be their fitna, which means their downfall, their means of making a mistake, they are like that person who not only wins, but their stick is the first one to be chosen. And as a result of that, they don't have to pay for any part of that camel, and they're not in any loss either. They gained something and they're not at loss. So he says all of this, the Imam, because he wants to draw an even more important conclusion, where he says, وَكَذَلِكَ الْمَرْءُ الْمُسْلِمُ الْبَرِيءُ مِنَ الْخِيَانَةِ يَنْتَظِرُ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ. All right. So somebody made it. Somebody is well off. I am not well off. I didn't, quote unquote, make it. All right. What am I going to do? Am I going to betray Allah now by doing something haram? Letting my jealousy get the best of me and going and doing something to the wealth of that person, stealing that person's wealth, backbiting that person, holding a grudge against them? What am I going to do? All of these different bad things that I can do as a result of my jealousy, these are a form of khiyana. They are a form of betraying of Allah's will and Allah's satisfaction. The Imam, he says, look, you want to be like that person who won the gamble? Yes, you want to be like that person? It's fine. This is what you have to do. You have to be bari'un min al-khiyana. You have to be devoid of any khiyana. Stay away from any form of khiyana. Here, khiyana doesn't necessarily mean to not fulfill what you have been entrusted with. I personally feel that khiyana here in a general sense, any form of khiyana and betraying Allah's will and Allah's satisfaction. You are also the same way, that person who's waiting for their stick to be chosen first, يَنْتَظِرُ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ. You are also waiting for one of two things to happen, in which both cases you're a winner. What are those two husnas? Those husnayayn, those two husna things, those two good things. إِمَّا دَاعِيَ اللَّهِ فَمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. Either you're waiting for the caller to Allah. In other words, maybe let's say the angel of death. In other words, either you live up to what you're supposed to live up to of the commands of God, even when you're upset, jealous that someone else might have something that you don't, a wealth that you would like to have but you don't, but you have patience. And in this state, for whatever reason, maybe your time has come and you pass away, you answer the call of Allah and you go to Allah. The Imam, he says, فَمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ. Allah has much better things to give you there. So you're a winner over there. Either you're alive after you show patience, or you're not alive. In both cases, you're good. In one case, you're even better off. If Allah takes your life shortly after, what Allah has is better for you than what He's given this individual. And no, if you are to live after this moment of jealousy, patience, and you show patience, وَإِمَّا رِزْقُ اللَّهِ. Yes, or you will get rizq from Allah. So it's either da'i Allah or rizqullah. Da'i Allah, the caller of Allah, the angel of death. If you just so happen to leave this dunya in that moment, then it's all good. If you don't, then rizqullah will come towards you. Wow. So here I would say the Imam is actually disclosing to us that the haram way of things won't work. If you do what Allah expects of you to do, then the rizq will come towards you. I guess we don't have enough faith, or we don't do what we're supposed to do, and the rizq doesn't come to us sometimes. And we ask Allah to give us that tawfiq, to reach that point where we do what we need to do and leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, sometimes we will have this fear. What if it doesn't happen? It's fine. We have to start practicing. It's not going to be easy. I personally will also struggle with this, that it's not easy at first. But if a person has that iman in Allah, does what they're supposed to do, I mean, based on our sources, it's impossible for Allah not to do His part. Imam Ali, in Nahjul Balagha, another part of it, when he's speaking to Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, when he's being expelled from Medina and sent to that dry, barren land of Rabada, he tells him, look, if the heavens and earth, the skies and earth are closed on an individual, fattaqallah, but even then, this person continues to practice the taqwa of Allah and living up to the commands of Allah, Allah will show him or her a way out of those closed doors even. Yes? This is what it is. These are the promises of God to us. The Quran also speaks of this. And so the Imam is saying either Da'i Allah or Rizqullah will come. Rizqullah, if it comes, فَإِذَا هُوَ ذُو أَهْلٍ وَمَالٍ. Before that person knows it, they also have an ahl, a family. They also have a wealth. Now, it might not be the craziest wealth of all. It might not be the most wealth of all. But at the end of the day, it will be enough to get you to the finish line, inshallah ta'ala. But there's a difference here, because a person who had the jealousy and did something haram to also reach that point that the other person was at, that they were jealous of, that person, to get there, lots of times will put aside his or her deen and religion, and that's why it's called khiyana. We'll put it aside. Allah has entrusted us with the deen, and we do what of that deen? We do khiyana of that deen. We put it aside, we betray it. This person lost their deen for that dunya they wanted to reach. Here though, when the Imam says this person has either da'i Allah or rizqullah, he adds, he says, فَإِذَا, all of a sudden, before this person knows it, they have a family, they have wealth, وَمَعَهُ دِينُهُ وَحَسَبُهُ, but at the same time, they have not lost their deen, and they have their deen along with them. And not only that, they have their reputation still with them. Wow, this means a lot. Imam Ali is the master of speech. Like he makes a very nice point here. That person who did khiyana, that means they threw away the deen. All right, now they have dunya, but do they have deen with it? They don't. Another person who did what they were supposed to do, now when all of a sudden, it's interesting how the wording is like this, all of a sudden they reach the family wealth and all of that, they also have their deen with it, they have their hasab and reputation with it. Sometimes you might not throw away your deen, but you throw away your reputation, you throw away your honor and dignity and izzah. That's not worth it either. At least in the books of the Imams, it's not worth it. Hayhat minna dhillah, lowliness is far away from us. Yes, this is a famous line that we've all heard. All right, so the Imam, he says, the person who does what they're supposed to do, they are waiting for one of two good things, either this or that. If it's death, it's good. If it's life, it's good. And this echoes a verse in the Quran. In the Quran, we have a famous verse where Allah is describing what the believers are saying to those who are telling them or who feel that these people who go and fight in the way of God and lose their lives, they're at loss. Those people would speak to those weaker faith ones and tell them, هَلْ تَرَبَّصُونَ بِنَا إِلَّا إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ. You all are waiting for us to go lose our lives in the way of God, and you're like, okay, they lost, poor things. No. There's whatever happens to us is one of two good things. إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ. One of two good things is going to either death, that's in the way of Allah. Life, and we live afterwards, well, we did our duty, and that's also something good. Yes, here the Imam uses the same wording. You see, brothers and sisters, that was for the physical struggle. The verse of the Quran is for the physical struggle. Yes, on the battlefield. Here, in this khutbah, the Imam uses the same wording that was used for the physical battle, for the spiritual battle. He says, يَنْتَظِرُ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ. Same wording. Over there it was tarabbasuna, which means anticipating. Tarabbasuna bina illa ihda al-husnayayn. Are you anticipating one of two good things for us? That's all you're anticipating. Whatever you're anticipating for us is one of two good things. Here the Imam says yantadhiru ihda al-husnayayn. Intidhar means to also await and anticipate something. All right? So you see the Imam is echoing the same wording of the Quran There it was the physical battle, here it is the spiritual battle. It's beautiful. وَإِنَّ الْمَالَ وَالْبَنِينَ حَرْثُ الدُّنْيَا وَالْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحِ حَرْثُ الْآخِرَةِ. Yes, he says, let me find here. Yeah. He says here, reminds us that you are awaiting one of two good things. When you see your brother has abundance that you don't, yet you are still patient, and yet you are still grateful to Allah for whatever you do have, you are awaiting one of two good things. One is life and the rizq in this life, and one is in the hereafter. When he says all of this, and he ends with the rizq, and he says, you have wealth, family, and at the same time you have your deen and your reputation, but he does add one thing here. He reminds us again. He says, but listen, that rizq that you have here, that you're given, don't think that, okay, don't be so happy that as if you have everything. No, this isn't everything. At the end of the day, he reminds us that wealth and sons and children and all that kind of stuff, these are the harthud dunya. Now, the translations will say the plantation of dunya, whatever you want to call it. These are things that you have here and assets of the dunya, while amalus salih is harthul akhirah. You planted something, it gave you two fruits. One of the fruits is for the dunya, one of the fruits is for the akhirah. When you exhibited and practiced patience, yes, and you didn't do khiyana, you didn't throw away your deen, you didn't get jealous and destroy that person's wealth, you didn't, whatever else it is, you didn't do any of that, you have two fruits, the Imam is reminding us. One is a little lower, and that it has to do with the dunya, which is the rizq that eventually will come to you, that you have to work for. Of course, we'll get to this part as well. You have to work for it, but your time will come, inshallah, whatever amount that he has in mind for you, in store for you. That is for dunya though. He says, look, but with that patience that you exhibited, you also secured something that you planted in the akhirah for yourself. Something that will bear fruit in the akhirah for yourself. That is the real deal. The Imams, the Quran, the Holy Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're always reminding us that look, the better stuff is to come. And don't forget about that. Don't get too excited about what you got here. It's fine. It's good to be happy, but at the same time, don't be too excited either, because there's more exciting stuff to come. All right. Now, someone might think here that these are mutually exclusive, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give dunya to some people and akhirah to others. We'll give some people a lot of wealth and we'll give others spirituality, maybe, all that kind of stuff. No, it's not like that. The Imam says, وَقَدْ يَجْمَعُهُمَا اللَّهُ تَعَالَى لِأَقْوَامٍ. And there are some, he says, who will get both, the dunya and the akhirah. So, right? So, once again, the Imams are doing this thing that where they want to keep us in the middle of the air. They don't want us to feel too comfortable or get too worried. Oh my God, I have wealth, am I a bad person? Oh my God, I don't have wealth, am I a bad person? No. Sometimes you have both, sometimes you have the one, sometimes you have the other. In all these cases, that main sentence, that which really matters, is that a person doesn't do khiyana of the deen. As a result, they will be the one whose stick is pulled out of that bag first. In other words, they have not lost and they have gained as well. Okay. So the conclusion that the Imam draws from all of this is clear, I would say, that if a person is a pure individual and lives a pure life, there's good things, inshallah, waiting for them. Yes. And that you just have to be patient enough. Now, someone might say, these hadiths, these stories, these sermons, and the likes of them, what they do is they're giving this feeling to people that everything is in the hands of God. No matter what you do, it's not going to make a difference. Is that the case or not? I think we all know the answer to that. That is not the case. Why is that not the case? Did the Imam here even once mention, did he even mention once that this person who does not do khiyana to his religion or her religion and works hard, Allah's rizq will all of a sudden come for them? It doesn't say that. It didn't say that. Or the verse, or the other hadith that I mentioned in Nahjul Balagha, where Imam Ali tells Abu Dhar that if you have taqwa, Allah will show you a way out. Does that mean, okay, I'm going to sit and do nothing? Well, the Imam didn't say you have to do something. He just said have taqwa. These cases, I think the answer is clear, brothers and sisters. Two things that will be said here. No, 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 no. Who says just relax now and just make sure you don't sin and you're good to go? Part of that taqwa is to try your best as well. So one of two things will be said here. One of them is actually, I liked it. It was kind of deep. And that is that, look, these hadiths, when they're speaking like this, what they're trying to do is they are trying to put some brakes on us. They're trying to put brakes on us. Hey, yo, slow down. O person who does not have as much as so-and-so does, understand that, look, at the end of the day, sustenance is not going to be uniform amongst all the people. It will not be distributed evenly. It's the result of a lot of different elements. A lot of different things factor into a person having versus another person not having. So understand that. And if you know that, you're not going to kill yourself to try to get up there with Bill Gates or somebody. With, I don't know, somebody like Elon Musk or something. I don't know. Steve Jobs will not be your role model necessarily. Once again, I'm not saying we shouldn't shoot for the stars, not make an effort. But sometimes the situation, the circumstances just won't let me get there. And to get there, I will have to compromise on other things. A person, a husband, for example, the father of a family, will have to start saving dimes and pennies because he feels like every dime counts, every nickel counts. And they will become so greedy and will not be generous at all. And their family will feel it. When they go on a trip, the kids want to grab a Slurpee, man, on the way. No, 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 no. That's $1, like 25 cents or something. Every penny counts. This person destroys their life, his own life, his family's life, because every penny counts. No, if a person understands that, look, every person's circumstances are different and you should not compromise on other things. You have to be generous when it comes to spending on the family. Yes, don't go over the limits and overdo things, but you have to be generous when it comes to the family. Yeah, we have hadith for this. You spend a little bit. If a person has the wrong perspective, the wrong mentality, then they will trample a lot of other teachings of Islam. But if they understand, on the other hand, that look, circumstances are different, I'm not going to try to be this person or that person because their circumstances are different. I will live up to the fullest of my potential, of course, but I'll understand that my potential has a threshold and I will not compromise on other things just so that I can reach so and so and so and so. These hadiths put brakes on us. That's the point I'm trying to make here. They put brakes on us and slow us down. Hey, where are you headed? فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? Where are you going? Slow down. I want to reach Bill Gates though. Slow down, my friend. First of all, yeah, we don't know how many people were cheated for so and so and so and so to get to that point. How much zulm happened for someone to get to that point? Look, circumstances are different. You won't be able to reach that point necessarily that every other person has. You can't look at every other person and take them as your measuring stick. Yeah? All right. So they put brakes on us. Or else they're not looking at it from that angle of, oh, you don't have to do anything anymore either. Or do you have to do something? Do you have to not do something? Just understand that God is the one who gives and distributes sustenance amongst the creatures, his creation. That's not what it's talking about, the hadith. The hadith, when you ask this hadith and the likes of this hadith, hey, do I have to also work hard or not? The answer that the hadith will give you is not applicable. Right now, I am addressing something else. I am addressing something else. I'm putting my finger on something else. Remember that this is how sustenance is distributed. That's the point I'm trying to make here. I'm not going to list every hadith or verse of the Quran. It's not going to list all the conditions of things. You'll find those in other hadiths. And that's the second point. When one hadith is focusing on one thing and wants to really highlight something and doesn't cover the other aspects of it, where do we get the other aspects from? We get them from other hadiths. That's the second point I wanted to make. That we look at the hadiths and verses as one giant corpus. We bring together and they become together like puzzle pieces to give us a picture of the whole thing. How does rizq work? Well, on one hand, the hadith tells us it's distributed by Allah and that there is a divine decree involved. But at the same time, another hadith will tell us one of those things that God's decree stands on, revolves around, is how much work we put in as well. Right? I'm going to give you an example of how verses of Quran or hadiths sometimes will look at something in a specific way, at one angle only, from one angle only. And they're focusing on it from that angle, and so other angles are not relevant right now. They're not applicable, although they are true as well. For example, there's a verse in the Quran where it's speaking about hunting dogs. Yes? The Quran says, فَكُلُوا مِمَّا أَمْسَكْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ. These dogs that you send, these hunting dogs that you send out to get some, to hunt some game for you and bring back for you game. Let's say they go out, they grab a turkey. So that dog grabs that turkey and strangles it, and that turkey dies, and they bring it to you. The Quran says this is halal for you. Although it wasn't slaughtered even, but there are other ways. There's a chapter in fiqh called as-sayd wal-dhibaha, hunting and slaughtering. There are different ways animals become halal. An animal that you can slaughter has to be slaughtered, but there are some ways of acquiring food that happen through, or meat that happen through hunting, not through slaughtering. And in those cases, there are exceptions where it doesn't have to necessarily be slaughtered. One of them is this case. The Quran says, your hunting dogs that you send, kulu mimma amsakna alaykum. Once they grab it, what they have grabbed and they have bitten down on and they've brought to you, eat from it. Eat from it. This verse, someone might say, see, it's saying eat from it. So I'm going to take that animal and that's dead now, and I'm going to pluck it, I'm going to cook it and eat it without even doing anything else. Here, the Islamic jurists have said, no, wait a minute. The verse is telling us that this turkey is halal. It is dhabiha, as if it has died in a way that you can eat and consume it. But it doesn't mean necessarily that the place where the dog bit on the neck of this turkey, let's say, is not najis now. No. That turkey is Islamically edible once other conditions are also met. So you have to actually wash its neck first, make it tahir, because dogs at the end of the day are najis. Yeah, but hunting dogs are okay to use and to buy and sell. Yes, but it doesn't mean they're not najis. So you must still wash it and you can consume it. So this verse was looking at it from one angle. It was just letting us know, look, this animal is an animal now, although it's dead, although it wasn't slaughtered with a blade or anything, but it has the potential of being halal for you. Okay? From that perspective, it's not a problem that it wasn't slaughtered properly. From that perspective, it's not a problem, or else you still have to wash it because dogs are najis. Yes? That's what this verse is saying. Now, I gave this example to show us that also in this case where we are, the Imam says, look, people, try your best. He doesn't say try your best. He just says, don't do khiyana. Don't let this be your fitna. He's just looking at it from one angle. Oh, Imam Ali, what if I don't make it my fitna? What if I don't do khiyana? Does that mean now I can sit back and say rizqullah is coming and ahl and mal is also going to come? No. You have to work as well. Who told? Imam Ali didn't say that in this hadith. That's true. But the Quran and hadith and other things have also mentioned other things. The Imam was only looking at it from this angle. I'll end with this hadith by Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. It's an interesting one. This hadith that I said, this sermon that we're covering right now, and when I'm saying the Imam looks at it from one angle, because he knows everything for us is our dunya. And so he wants to put those brakes on us. Yes? It's kind of like this hadith here, where the Imam, he says, Ma'ashira ashabi, oh my companions, usikum bil akhirah. Imam Sajjad says, I am reminding you of the akhirah. Yes, encouraging you to take care of your akhirah. وَلَسْتُ أُوصِيكُمْ بِالدُّنْيَا. I'm not going to encourage you to build your dunya. Not because you don't have to build your dunya. This is the cool part. He doesn't say not because you don't have to build your dunya. Yeah, of course we have to build our dunya. We have to go out there and do work and be productive and generate wealth. That's something that we have hadith for. Islam, these are the basics of Islam. He says, I'm not going to push you towards, building your dunya, but not because it's something that's not supposed to happen. He says, because فَإِنَّكُمْ بِهَا مُسْتَوْصُونَ وَعَلَيْهَا حَرِيصُونَ وَبِهَا مُتَمَسِّكُونَ. Because even if I don't tell you to build your dunya, you're going to go after it anyway. You're going to build it. So I know you're taking care of that part. I'm going to remind you of the part that you might sometimes forget, and that is the akhirah. Yes? Similar to this hadith that we had, this sermon that we were covering today, that the Imam, when he says, look, don't do khiyana and don't let this be your fitna, it doesn't mean that he says you don't have to do your hard work, because he knows at the end of the day we're going to be working hard anyway. The question is, am I going to work hard in a halal way or in a haram way to get to that which I want to get to? That is the important part. That is the part that is usually neglected, and that is why the Imam looks at it from that angle only and addresses that aspect of it. Inshallah, Allah gives us tawfiq to be followers of these wonderful, amazing teachings of Islam, and that we never do khiyana when it comes to our deen, and never put it aside in order for that to be our fitna. Inshallah ta'ala. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.